Yes, lads, what's going on? And welcome to the 35th episode of the Little Running Irishman podcast. I'm pretty sure this is the 35th episode. Kind of losing track a little bit, but this Thursday we are joined with a very special guest, Jayme Rossiter. Rossiter, Jay, I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I asked him in the podcast how to pronounce the second name, and I'm pretty sure it's Rossiter. But yeah. Sorry, Jay, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I was really happy to have Jay on. Jay is a Clonliffe man like myself. He's represented Ireland in the Steeplechase. He has coached me one time in the Steeplechase, my first ever Steeplechase session, actually. And he's also the national Steeplechase champion in Ireland. So, yeah, he's also had an amazing career as well in running up to this point. We talk about his life before running, what other sports he done, which is very interesting. Make sure to stay tuned for that because it isn't a sport that you would think, but it definitely did help in his steeplechase career. Jay is a very busy man and a hard man to get hold of, but I was really happy to have him on. During the course of the episode, if you're watching it on YouTube, Jay's voice is out of sync, but it's a podcast. You're pretty much just watching it to listen to it. If you're watching it on YouTube, it's out of sync really with his mouth and all, but it doesn't make too much of a difference because at the end of the day, you just want to listen. You don't really need to watch it. But nonetheless, it is a great episode to talk about Jay's early life. As we do, we talk about his the start of his running career, basically, and then to the present day of his running career. And yeah, just a great episode. Thanks, Jay, for coming on. Make sure to follow the Little Running Irishman official Instagram to be kept up to date on episodes going live if you aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you're not as well, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Also, I have a TikTok called The Little Running Irishman. Just go over there, give me a follow, like my videos. Really enjoying doing that at the moment. But yeah, that's enough of me blabbing on for now. Get into the episode. See you. Alright, so I'm joined here with Jay. Thanks very much, Jay, for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, no bother at all.
I must say you're a hard man to get hold of. I mentioned this in the intro. Very busy man and busy time of year, as you mentioned.
Yeah, well, I work in a university at the moment, and as you can imagine, with the whole coronavirus and lockdown thing, our workload has just kind of skyrocketed. So, yeah, I'm very happy to be on though.
No, I'm very happy to have you on. But so basically, like I mentioned, we're gonna do like you do with most guests I have on, is start at your sport and from the beginning of your sporting career and work to the present day. So hopefully that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Grand. So obviously this is a running podcast and you're a runner yourself, a Clonliffe man anyway. But before we get into the running side of your life, is there any other sports that you took up when you were younger, or still other sports you like enjoying to this day?
Well, to be frank, I'm pretty brutal at team sports. I've got no hand-eye coordination at all.
Yeah.
But used to skateboard and rollerblade when I was younger, and I did a bit of parkour as well, which used to be cool, and now it's kind of become a bit of an internet meme. But yeah.
No. Go on, sorry.
Yeah. No. Other than that, athletics has pretty much been my go-to sport to watch. But love watching the cross-country skiing as well, and gymnastics.
Very good. Well, from a personal opinion, I think parkour is very, very cool, and I'm not the worst at it myself. And obviously that came handy in with your steeplechase, which we'll talk more now about in a minute.
Yeah, it kind of led into it actually. So there's a bit of a funny story to that.
Yeah, well, every cloud has a silver line, and you've done it for a reason, and look where it has you.
Ah, yeah, no, exactly.
So you were never really into, as you said, team sports. So you're never into GA or soccer or anything.
Well, I was a bit delicate when I was younger, so probably not dissimilar to you. I was very, very weedy little kid. I grew into myself, so don't worry, you got plenty of years. But I was on GA summer camp, and I broke my arm from somebody doing a really high ball. That flew up in the air and then came down here to me. Look, where's the ball? Where's the ball? And the ball hits me in the face and kind of broke my arm. Then when I was in 5th year in school, broke my ankle doing a slide tackle and playing football out in the backyard. So I did a cast for 6 weeks with that as well. So you can take from what you will. I kind of enjoyed taking part, but I was just a bit delicate and a bit brutal.
Well, yeah, that's it. At least you took part at the end of the day. But as we mentioned, your parkour background kind of led into your steeplechase career. But as most of us know, that comes a bit later on in your running career. So to begin at the start of your running career, obviously, when did you start running?
So I took up running when I was in first year in school. So for those of you who don't know, I went to Belvedere College, and was under the wing of Phil Conway. Now, Phil Conway's retired from there now. He was a very well-respected throwing coach who had a talent for spotting runners, and I think I can't remember what it was. He saw me anyway, and he kind of said, "You look like you could do cross country." And then he's like, "Yeah, well, if you do this race, you get like half a day off school." And I was like, "Half a day off school? Now that sounds like a deal." So I was sold, because if you missed half a day for a race, you didn't have to do the homework for those classes the following day. So I was like, exactly. That sounds amazing. What it meant was that I did my first race around the magazine fort with no training at all, and in a pair of tracksuit bottoms and football boots, which I would not recommend.
Well,
it's the only. Oh yeah, go on.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, you do still see a lot of that nowadays. From first of all, people still trying to get out of school, obviously, and the tracksuit bottoms and the football boots. You probably wouldn't think it, but you do still see them nowadays.
Oh yeah, no, I well believe it. It's the only time I stopped and walked in a race as well.
Really?
Well, you know yourself, if you haven't done any training for it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
It can be, even with all the training that we do nowadays. It definitely is still a pretty brutal sport.
Yeah, no, it is.
And so yeah, no, that's with your first experience, obviously, when you start running, especially with a club, when the intensity is a little bit higher, it can be quite obviously physically but mentally challenging sport. So when you said you stopped and you were walking in that race, how did that lead into actually you wanting to join? Because obviously you're stopping, so that means you're hurting bad. So how does that lead into you actually wanting to do the sport?
To be frank, I'm not entirely sure how I ended up doing it. I decided that I was okay at running. And I think I wanted to do the West Leinsters, because I was like, well, there's a chance I could actually make a team for this. Phil had said to me that, and my mum turned around and she said, well, you're not going to make the team if you don't train.
Exactly.
So she was like, you have to go down and do some training for this. So I was like, right, well, I'll start training. So I was training once a week then, and made a team for the West Leinsters. I don't think she realised that actually for the West Leinsters, anybody who wants to run it can just be put on the team. But anyway, I can thank my mum for that one. She convinced me, and then Joe spotted me. So we all know Joe, Captain Cooper.
Yeah.
Joe spotted me at a race, and it kind of taken a bit of an interest. And then Phil had said to me, look, Clonliffe are based down in Santry. I was like, well, Santry's pretty close. And he's like, I think you've got good enough talent. You should go down and train there. So I actually, this is not a very well-known fact, but I actually started training with Clonliffe in 2005 originally, and was in mixed group for maybe 6 months, and then took a hiatus for 4 years. And he came back in 2008, and at that point, it was around then that I took up the steeplechase as well.
Yeah.
And again, that was down to Phil, because I was in between. Did I want to do 1500? Did I want to do 5k? I didn't really like distance racing on the track all that much, to be honest. And Phil was like, well, Jay, you're a springy kind of fella.
Yeah.
You should try the steeplechase. And I was like, steeplechase? What's that? And he was like, it's the event with the water jump and the hurdles. I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. And just a bit of a funny story to this as well, in that in the first year, I was teaching another guy how to hurdle before the race.
Yeah.
And I pulled my calf.
Oh.
And I wasn't able to run the West Leinsters. And then the fellow I was teaching the hurdle won the West Leinsters.
Oh, no way.
And I was raging. So then the following year, or not the following year, I think Phil had managed to negotiate with John Shields for the Taltine Games.
Yeah.
He was like, well, look, if you run the Leinsters as a trial, you can still run the Taltines. I was like, oh, yeah, great. I'll do that then. So I ran the Leinsters, and then I think I was coming second in that, and then I just pulled out in finishing straight because I wasn't supposed to finish it, because I was a guest.
Oh, so you could have came second.
I would have come second in the Leinsters that
That's
year. I would have gone
crazy.
to the All Irelands that year, but because I'd injured my calf and I hadn't, you can get a bye if you've shown previous form, but I hadn't shown form, so I
Yeah.
didn't know that. But anyway, and
That must
then
have been
I
a bit
didn't.
bittersweet, because like obviously you knew you had the talent and you were coming second, but you didn't actually get to finish the race.
Yeah, I was a bit annoyed as well because I'd qualified for the 5K, so I ran
Yeah.
the 5K, but with the 5K, the three guys ahead of me ended up being the top three in the All Ireland, so I came
Yeah.
fourth at that and didn't qualify.
Oh, that is annoying, to be fair. So,
Yeah,
so what would
I
have actually happened if you'd have finished the race as a guest, basically?
don't think anything would have happened. I'd just been told not to finish it, so I didn't finish it.
So the lad that came in third would have crossed the line and been like, oh, third, I'll take third. Then next of all, he's handed a silver medal.
Nah, the Mr. Starter did tell the guys before the race started that I was a guest and that I
All
didn't
right.
count. So the lads knew that I didn't count, but I had been told not to finish it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I ran the Chaltines then, and I did it after a holiday. So I went away for a week on
Yeah.
holiday and didn't do much running, did a lot of partying, and came back. And yeah, that, as you can imagine, that didn't go well. Came fourth.
Well,
But
not the worst.
it's not the worst. But
Yeah.
I could have come if I applied myself a bit more.
Yeah.
Could have finished higher, but you're a teenager,
Exactly.
running, partying. It's a hard decision. Like,
Yeah.
so.
So
Anyway,
yeah, coming off that point a little bit, that's one thing I'm kind of struggling with a little bit. Not really the partying sense, because even people my age, I wouldn't be into like drinking or anything like that. But even going out like to the cinema or whatever with my friends, and they'd be like, "Do you want to get McDonald's before going to the movie?" And I'd be like, yeah, I want to, but then I'll kind of regret it later on, or I'll feel bad about it. So, how did you kind of deal with that when you were a teenager, or did you just go to the parties? Did you just have the McDonald's? How did you kind of deal with it?
it was a bit of a mixed bag now. So the parties, if someone's offered a party, I always went to the party.
Yeah,
But I'm not a McDonald's fan. I've never really been. I saw that documentary on how chicken nuggets were made.
yeah,
Yeah, that kind of turned me off it. So
really,
I was on the borderline anyway.
yeah,
I don't do takeaway very often. I think I can count on one hand how many times I've had Mackie D's in the last 5 years, and in fact, two of those have been with my coach on the way back from races.
So
Because it
you
was
kind of
like,
deserved it then a bit.
well, no, it was 1 in the morning and nothing else was open.
Oh, really? Come back from races at 1 in the morning.
Yeah. Anyway,
So,
um, no, I haven't struggled with that so much, and as I got older, I kind of stopped eating my weight in chocolate quite so much
yeah,
and stopped partying quite so much. You can actually, Peter McDermott's probably the man to talk to about that,
yeah,
because when I was a fresher in uni, I was doing my last year as a junior in the Dublins, and I ran what was an okay race, but it was subpar.
yeah.
And Peter pulled me aside afterwards and said, "What happened to you?" And it's like, well, it was Halloween week, so I've been out 4 nights this week, and we're burning the candle at both ends. And he was like, "Well, Jay, you've actually got a shot at making euros here,
Yeah,
and you got to decide to yourself: do you want to be a runner or do you want to be a student?" I was like, "Well, actually, I want to be a runner."
yeah,
And that was kind of the switch that flicked from being like classic partying student to taking running a bit more seriously. And in
yeah,
fact, I wasn't that far off making the squad in the end.
yeah.
Uh, I there's another story about that one, but we'll save that for another day.
Grand. So,
But yeah,
no, I was just gonna say, obviously we'll talk about your running career and international career later on, but I just kind of want to take a little bit of a step back at the moment. You mentioned mixed group there, and obviously for me and a lot of lads that listen to the podcast on my team would be able to relate to a lot of the things and talk about mixed team, because obviously we're on that team at the moment. So is there anything kind of you want to tell us about the team? Obviously we've been there 2 years, but is there anything that like experiences from the team that you experienced that maybe we have as well, maybe like the same sessions or the same warm up and drills and all? What was the experience like for you?
I think you've probably got a far more technical version of Mick than we had, because we didn't do any drills or anything. It was turn up, do a few strides, and do a session.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah, like I was with Mick when I was in first year, and it was a very different experience to when I was with Mick in fourth year.
Yeah.
There was a different group there.
Yeah.
The group had completely changed actually, and in fact I was only with Mick for a season. I moved to Joe's group, but it was fun. Mick he was good at engaging with the guys.
Yeah.
And I have fond memories of being in the group.
Yeah, no, it definitely is an enjoyable group. But as you said, we do probably have a more technical Mick nowadays. Obviously, that comes with the advancements in the sport itself. The hurdle drills, I definitely find them even before, not even before maybe a steeplechase session or a steeplechase race, before a normal session, it definitely does help you loosen up and loosen up your hips and all. So yeah, maybe we have an advantage in there, but it definitely didn't hold you back nonetheless.
No, it didn't hold me back. I was lucky in that I've got very mobile hips, so that I don't have to work on that quite so much as somebody else might have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hurdle drill is definitely worth doing.
Yeah, and obviously, well, nowadays anyway, steeplechase comes a little bit later on in your running career, and I just want to talk about a little bit about other races and distances that you remember from maybe track distances, we'll say, from when you started off running in Clonliffe. So any other races or distances you ran?
Yeah, so I mainly did 1500 and a couple of 3Ks. I did one. I've actually, believe it or not, I've only run 3 5Ks on the track.
Yeah.
One was in Leinster Schools. Is it 3? I think it's 3 now. Yeah. One was in the Leinster Schools in 2009.
Yeah.
One was at Manchester in 2015, and one was in Loughborough in 2017. They're the only 5K races I've run. I've run a few other 3Ks. Probably one of note is that I actually made the final in the 1500 and the steeplechase in my final year in schools.
Really?
Yeah, and decided to race both of them.
And how did they go for you?
Steeplechase I came second, ran well.
Right.
That was first.
Yep.
The 1500 I came second last. Because I was battered, and the guy who came last was also in the steeplechase.
Oh, okay, so
yeah. Remember we cooled down together after, and he was just like, "Jay, you prick." We were in the finishing straight, and I was wasn't in a good place, and then he was in the worst place, and I just kept storming past him, and he was just looking around and be like.
No, the steeplechase definitely does take a lot out of you compared to the normal flat events on the track.
Yeah, it does.
And especially a race.
Yeah, I run a PB that day as well, so I was pretty happy.
Oh, very good. So you just mentioned there that you've only ever ran 3 5K races on the track, and I know you've had a much bigger, longer running career than I have, but actually tonight up in the club championships is going to be my first ever 5K on the track.
Oh, you're in for a treat then.
Yeah, so I've ran many 5Ks out on the road, but I just want to ask you, what is it like on the track?
Boring.
Really?
Well, look, that's how I feel about it. 5K is not an event I enjoy on the track. It's not because of the distance, it's just because of the laps.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's underrated as an event. It's good, but it depends on how you run it as well. Like you've really gotta be in control in the 5, because the race doesn't start until nearly 4K in.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling fresh at 4K, you're gonna have a really sore last K.
Yeah. And obviously out on the road, the different scenery obviously helps as well to keep going and push on a bit harder. Well, that's how I feel anyway. I thought it would be a bit maybe boring, a bit repetitive. Is it tougher mentally, or is it more tougher physically on the track? How did you feel physically and mentally different to outdoing it on the road or wherever?
I don't run on the road very often either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Probably, I'd say I've run less than 10 5Ks in my career.
Yeah.
It's different. It depends. Like we do. I do the road relays in the UK each year. It's not exactly 5k. It varies between kind of 4.8 and 6.
Yeah.
And in Crystal Palace, they've got a course that's on a slope like that. So you're running up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting because it's nearly like a cross-country race but on road.
Yeah.
It's very different to what you'd feel on a track race.
Yeah.
I think in the track race, because there's no hills to break it up,
Yeah.
you're constantly on that kind of edge of, am I comfortable? I'm not really all that comfortable, but I'm not so uncomfortable that I have to slow down. And yeah, it's not, personally, I just find it a little bit like you're just sitting on the edge and there's no distractions.
Yeah.
But that said, if you sit yourself in on the curb behind a few people, don't put yourself in front and don't drop any bombs during it.
Yeah,
you'll probably be all right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just the fact that you're kind of always counting down the laps on the track a bit, because out on the road, from personal experience, maybe you might have 2.5k loops or 2 big loops or 1 even big loop that you might be running, but the fact on the track is around and around and around, and you're always counting down the laps, can maybe make it that mentally a bit more tough.
Yeah, I think the laps is probably what gets me the most.
Yeah.
I struggle with sessions where we're on the track and we're doing loads and loads of laps as well.
Yeah.
So.
Obviously, you said you have your wide variety of, you're quite wide variety of distances on the track. Your 1500, your steeplechase, 3k and 5k. From them distances, is there, obviously your steeplechase, but from the other ones, is there any PBs that you can remember and that you're proud of?
I was very proud of my first time dipping under 350.
Yeah.
That was like, yeah, you know what? It was a cracking race. I actually won the race in Watford, and I'd been a bit annoyed with the organizer because he put me in a slow race.
Yeah.
But I ended up winning the race and getting a PB, and I'd won the race in a time that was faster than the grade above me, and would have put me like 4th in the grade above that.
Oh, very good.
So I was like, yeah, do you know what? Really happy with that.
Yeah.
That PB was great at the time. It now desperately needs revision. And I've been trying, and this is supposed to be the year, and obviously we're in lockdown. I don't know when I'm going to race a proper one. I know I'm doing a 1500 time trial next week.
Oh,
so hopefully that produces something somewhat decent.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then the other one was my second 5k. I took 2 minutes off my PB because it's been so long since I ran one.
Yeah.
And I have a 59-second dead 400 hurdles PB. Really? Yeah, which would have actually put me in the top 20 rankings on the Irish rankings that year, but it got missed.
So you're a very versatile runner. We'll put it that way. You have the speed for the 400. You have the hurdles from the steeplechase, and obviously the 400 hurdle. You have the fitness for and speed for the 5k and 3k. So you could put yourself down as a very flexible runner.
Flexible. I've got some wheels, but I'm definitely edged more towards the longer stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'd be better at 12k cross than I would be at 400 hurdles.
Yeah,
that
I get you. Yeah. And what would your 5k PB stand at right now?
5k PB is 14:20 at the moment.
Oh, that's pretty good to be fair to you. For being someone that has only ran less than 10 5ks in their running career, would you say if you were to go back to it now, you'd break that?
I would hope to. That was from 2015.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you'd hope to be breaking that.
Yeah, I would hope to be breaking that, but as I say, you can talk about what kind of shape you're in, but the track talks. You've got to put it down.
That's it. Yeah. It can be depending on the weather, how you feel on the day. There's a lot of variables that can come in to mess up your performance on the day. And what's your steeplechase? Just say 3k steeplechase PB looking like at the moment?
It's 8:46.8 or something like that. I'm about half a second off the club record, which was bittersweet.
Yeah, definitely.
Run this massive PB, amazing. Look at the time, I've missed it by about I think it's 0.6 of a second I've missed it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is definitely a bittersweet moment.
If you've watched the race, you'll see I messed up the last water jump as well.
Yeah.
I nearly stacked it in the last water jump, and if I hadn't done that, I'd have actually gotten it. So
Do you know who
But
holds the club record at the moment?
yes, Des McCork, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So
I've met Des once, I think, at a race. Peter introduced me to him. It's an old one. It's the oldest. I think it's the oldest one in the book now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Steeplechase isn't obviously the most popular event on the track. So yeah, I could see how that could be the oldest one.
Yeah, you had got Dave Flynn a few years ago with Run and Chase, and he looked like he was going to break it, but
yeah,
I think injury and life kind of got in the way.
Yeah.
That said, he's transitioned well to the marathon, so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the record lies on your shoulders now. Does it feel like that?
Yeah, it's a bit. It's gonna be like Breaking 9 all over again. But anyway.
or Breaking 2, the Elliot Kipchoge 2.0, the Irish
Oh,
version.
I'm never going to be at that level. That's just Kipchoge the god as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely. But no, that's definitely a good goal, a personal goal. Well, not even like a club goal to have to push harder in sessions, to have that. Obviously, the races itself, qualifying for different races, bigger events, is usually the main prospect. But having that goal just in the back of your head definitely can drive you that little bit further.
Yeah, no, it really does help.
And yeah, obviously, all the tracks, most sports out there basically can come with hard training, come with injuries, and especially a event like the steeplechase, where it's easy to maybe clip a barrier or land awkwardly, or even just pull something while running normally. Is there, not even just from steeplechase, is there any major injuries that you've ever dealt with, and any maybe tips that you can give for people on how to recover from injuries or stay mentally and physically strong during injuries?
Oh God, there's more injuries than I can actually count, to be perfectly honest. I've had just about everything. Yeah, I've had 3 stress fractures. I had a mystery knee injury for about 6 months.
Yeah.
I had a twisted ankle, which took about 6 or 8 months to heal. Plantar fasciitis 1 year. I had peroneal tendonitis for 1 year. Actually, peroneal tendonitis is the only one that was actually a steeplechase injury.
Really?
Yeah, that one was.
How did that come along?
It had started prior to steeplechase set training. I was doing some water jump practice, and whatever when my foot landed, I just stretched the tendon, and then I couldn't water jump on that foot for the season.
Oh, really?
Which is a bit annoying. Yeah,
so,
wouldn't recommend that one.
So the fact that you wouldn't recommend it, you wouldn't be recommending any of them, but obviously, did you have to? You said you couldn't water jump on that foot for the rest of the year. So did you have to kind of change up your form and training, or did you just take a break?
We experimented a bit, so I seem to be able to hurdle with it all right, but the water jump was a bit of an issue. So I was trying to hit the barrier with the other foot.
Yeah.
And some races it worked and some it didn't. I think I had one race, might have been the one in Birmingham, which was that's Euro Clubs in Birmingham in 2018. And I think I hit the barrier with the wrong foot for 6 out of 7 water jumps.
Mm-hmm.
So end up doing this little awkward skippy thing where you kind of take off on that foot and then land on the same foot that you take off on, which is not very effective. But yeah, I just had to do that, and then I took a break from steeplechasing for maybe 6 weeks after that, and then ran the Irish Championships. But the ankle was still there until it only cleared up in October that year.
Really?
So yeah, and I think I put it down.
No, sorry, go on.
I think I put it down to a specific pair of shoes I've been training in. When I stopped training in those, which went away.
Oh, okay. And a thing with the steeplechase and hurdle event in general is you hit a hurdle, and this is from experience of hitting the hurdle once out of my 6 sessions doing steeplechase training. Is you do get a fright nonetheless, and it then can, especially getting an injury like the one you suffered from, it can then be a confidence thing to rebuild confidence, to be able to be more confident, or rebuilding your confidence, come back up to the hurdle, and especially the water jump. It can be quite a challenging thing to rebuild your confidence.
Yeah, confidence has never been an issue for me with the hurdles.
Yeah.
I suppose it probably comes from I did parkour as a teenager, so I was used to jumping over things and jumping on things and climbing over things. So I kind of backed myself to get over the hurdle pretty much every time. The water jump, there is a confidence thing there, and that's because I've had a couple of injuries with the water jump.
Yeah.
And it's backing yourself to trust the body that the body is 100%.
Yeah.
And when the body is 100%, everything works. But if you don't trust it, you won't commit fully to it, and that's a bit of an issue.
And would you say it'd be safe to say that you have suffered from more injuries than you've ran 5Ks?
Oh yeah, easy.
That is pretty crazy to say, nonetheless.
Yeah, but that's spanning over a 10-year career.
Oh well, yeah, that's fair enough. And obviously, coming with a lot of injuries can come a physical decrease and obviously a mental decrease. Is there anything that you can say from your experience to anyone out there that is currently suffering injury, or if anyone does ever suffer an injury, how to maybe stay mentally active and physically active?
Yeah, there's probably 2 bits of advice I give you. Is one, injuries, they're not ideal.
Yeah.
You can't train. So do some of the things that you wouldn't that running normally gets in the way of.
Yeah.
And enjoy yourself a little bit while you're recovering.
Exactly.
The second thing is that don't panic when you feel unfit, because every time you come back from having taken 3 months off, you feel like I'm never ever going to get back to the shape I was in.
Exactly.
And then 6 months later, you're there. So just be patient and trust your body. Your body is a remarkable thing.
Yeah.
It will recover and it will get fit again.
Yeah, definitely. And I was actually listening to an Evan Yeager podcast there a few weeks back out on a run, and they were saying, and I've never actually suffered from a really bad injury that I've been out yet, touch wood I don't, but I've been listening to him, and he said that the worst thing for him was seeing his team getting fitter. And obviously you want your team to be doing well and you want the lads in your team to be fit, but at the end of the day you want to be there doing it, and there's obviously a slight bit of jealousy there as well.
There's the jealousy, but there's also the isolation factor as well.
Yeah.
Like if your social group revolves around running, what you find is that when you're injured, you're seeing a lot of these people at training.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're not at training. And there's a load of people from your social circle you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think particularly if you're someone like Evan who lives in a community of runners, it's going to be very isolating. You don't want to be jealous.
Yeah.
Because you want to support your teammates, but at the same time you're like, oh, I just really wish I was there.
It's just natural, really.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's it. You just have to be patient. The body will recover. Well, for most injuries anyway that are running related, the body will recover, and there's other things you can do to stay fit. Obviously, CrossFit depending on the injury, resting very important, and obviously there is an element of being at a session and being jealous, but going to the sessions with your team and watching with your coach can obviously bring some mental gain as well. Like obviously being with your teammates can make you happy, being with your coach can make you happy, or even just being at the club at the track can make you happy. So there are a lot of things that can help with recovering from an injury.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also if you've got an interest in coaching when you finish, it's a rare opportunity for you to be on the other end and watch the session and watch how your coach deals with the session.
Yeah, definitely. I always said to the lads on my team, coaching would be the greatest thing, especially a running coach, because you're there in the session or in the race and you're in pain, and your coach, obviously he's nervous for you, he wants you to do well, but he doesn't have the same amount of nervousness. And he's a lot of coaches as well in Clonliffe have gone through the training and racing and all as well. But in the moment, it'd be great to be the coach, to be able to give the sessions, see the lads in pain and being like, yeah, at least I'm not doing that.
There is, but then if you look at, I don't know if you've ever spent any time with Joe on the day of the National Cross.
No.
Joe would always be a stress head on the day of the National Cross, just hoping that the team performs.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult when you're your team captain and you're coaching, but you're hoping your athletes perform as well.
Yeah,
you're
definitely
as nervous as they are, actually, if not more so.
Yeah, no, there definitely is an element of nervousness when it comes to coaching. And looking into it now, it is something that I'd hopefully in the future, not obviously I'm still a while yet, but something to get into and something that I'd have an interest in. Would it be something that you would like to look into in the future or have an interest in?
Yeah, definitely. Like the coaching structure in athletics at the moment is all voluntary.
Yeah.
And as an athlete, we take an awful lot out of the pot.
Yeah.
I feel like a way of giving back to the pot is for me to do coaching. There are other ways. You can marshal at races, volunteer for your coach, or for your club, donate gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know whether I'll move back to Dublin or not. If I can't coach for Clonliffe, I'll coach for the local club wherever I am. So
Yeah.
like giving back to the athletics pot at least.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially in Ireland, for any sport, 99% of the coaching is voluntary work, and obviously, like the coaches, the fact that voluntary, they have to have their own jobs, families as well. So it can be quite stressful, and definitely with a sport like running, you have to be very consistent and committed to it. So obviously, from the athlete's point of view, there's a lot of commitment that it takes, but definitely from the coach's point of view, when it's voluntary work, it definitely takes a lot of commitment and dedication.
Yeah, no, it does. I
And
have a huge amount of respect for them.
oh yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, we've spoken a lot about your steeplechase career, and we've spoken about your why you started it and when you started it. Obviously, you have a background in parkour, which definitely led into it. And kind of like myself, I'm not the biggest fan of the 1500. Hate the 800. Tonight will actually be my first 5K on the track, so I'm not too sure how I feel about it. So the reason I kind of resorted to the steeplechase was to see if there was something different that I would like, and that was kind of the same with you. And obviously, as we mentioned, you have your parkour background, but obviously the first session, it can be quite maybe intimidating as such, because you never jumped hurdles maybe before, or jumped barriers. So if you can remember your first session, obviously it wasn't that long ago. You're still a young lad, but could you remember your first experience at a steeplechase session?
I actually did racing before I did sessions, believe it or
Oh,
not. A
okay.
bit old school.
Yeah.
I know my first sessions were with John Shields,
Yeah.
and he was co-coaching Tomas Cotter with I can't remember Tomas's endurance coach's name,
Yeah.
but there was a collaborative coaching system, and Tomas would come down to this track on Sunday and do a session, and I would just
Yeah.
jump into the session with him and do them. Um, but then the other bit was later on, probably a few months after that, I've been talking to Joe, and we'd say, well, why don't you go down to the hurdles coach? So you're probably too young to remember Jeremy Lyons being in the club. But
Yeah.
Jeremy is a very well-renowned hurdles coach in the Irish scene. He was
Yep.
a Clonliffe man for quite a while. And Jeremy actually taught me how to hurdle with the four hurdlers. So he taught me all my drills, taught me how to hurdle, critiqued it, and I spent several weeks with him.
Yeah.
And then from there, Joe would then put hurdles into sessions, and I would hurdle the hurdles in the session
Yeah.
using what Jeremy taught me.
Yeah, and at the start of the episode, you mentioned when you were younger, you were quite small and brittle, a bit like myself. So, did you obviously at the age I am myself, the height on jumping is no problem. Did you ever encounter a problem like that? Obviously, you mentioned you were quite springy, so, and you still are, obviously. So, I presume you never really encountered too much of an issue with the hurdles or barriers.
No, getting over the hurdles was fine. There was
Yeah.
never really an issue with spring there. Like, if you watch me run, I think the word that comes to most people's mind is springy, because I spent a lot of time in the air.
Yeah.
So, yeah, spring was never an issue, thankfully.
Yeah, and you mentioned that before you start training in hurdles for the steeplechase, you actually raced first. So, do you remember your wins? Not wins particularly, but your first races in the steeplechase, and your experience with it. So, how you felt? Did you like it straight away, or your early success even before training for the steeplechase?
Yeah, I remember doing the first one and thinking this is like, it was a bit mad. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is great. I'm enjoying this now.
Yeah.
I loved 2K steeplechase. 2K steeplechase was one of my favorite events.
Yeah.
And I remember doing my first 3K steeplechase for the league, which at some point you'll probably be asked to do.
Yeah.
And been like, oh my god, what have I signed up for here? It's like last race of the season. I've been racing 2K all season, and then it's like, okay, you're just going to do 3K chase. Just finish it, Jay. Just finish
Yeah, no,
it.
that's it. That's what it's like now. The for the Dublins and Leinsters this year for the club track, it's coming all together as one, Dublin and Leinster.
Yeah.
That's 2K. and then for the All Irelands it's 3K. So it's a bit of a jump, but sure, look, hopefully I'll get through it anyway.
I have faith. Your hurdles look good anyway, so that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I feel during quarantine I made a homemade hurdle, so
I saw that.
yeah, it did definitely help a lot. I even texted Stephen. I was asking what the height was that I jumped, and so he gave me the height. I got all the plant pots my dad had lying around, stacked them on top of each other, and it definitely did help with my form. It definitely has come along a good bit since lockdown.
No, I made some homemade hurdles as well out of deck chairs and sticks.
No, that's what we had to resort to.
Hey, if it works, it works. Like
that's it. But yeah, so when your first races for the steeplechase was it like obviously we're going back to your springy parkour, was there a lot of natural talent there early on in the steeplechase? Did you get any early on wins as such? So how was it like for you early on?
Talent was there and a natural ability was definitely there. Wins, not so much.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, do you know Emmett Jennings? He's mountain runner, steeplechaser. I think not sure if he's still doing the steeplechase or moving to the road now, but Emmett was very good as a junior and we actually went to uni together.
Yeah.
But we were rivals for about 5 or 6 years and he'd nearly always have me in the steeplechase.
Yeah.
And then he actually got injured. He got a back injury and then had a stomach problem.
Yeah.
And up until that point, he'd been pretty much untouchable. So I got an awful lot of silvers.
Well, sure. Look, a lot of people would be wishing for them, but yeah, obviously having a rival does add that bit more. It does make you push yourself, would you say, that bit more?
It definitely did. Yeah. And like originally it was a rivalry, and then it turned into a friendship because. We spent a lot of time together in uni as well.
Yeah.
He's the lad's tapped, but a good guy.
Yeah, no, that running. I know I mentioned it a lot in previous podcasts, and we've mentioned it a lot here. But running definitely is a very bittersweet sport. Like PBs, like you mentioned, in the steeplechase you set an insane PB, but you're half a second off the club record. Coming second in your first ever steeplechase races. It's coming second, but just missing out on first. Other PBs along the line. It just is a very bittersweet sport.
Yeah, no, actually, I've got another story about a bittersweet one, which was national championships in 2014.
Yeah.
I was looking at it. Actually, a very high quality one. It was Tomas Cotter versus Rory Chester. I think Rory Chester ran his PB in the race, something like 8:46 or 8:47.
Yeah.
And I was battling with Freddie Stiddock, the Kenyan athlete from Raheny. And I'd broken Freddie. I was in the lead from about 400 out and came to the last hurdle and I clipped the last hurdle. And I didn't quite go down.
Yeah.
But legs turned the jelly off it, and Freddie, obviously being Kenyan, he just sailed straight over it. And we're neck and neck, and Freddie gets me by that much, and he ended up with the bronze, and I came fourth.
Yeah.
So I ran a PB, ran nearly the race of my life, and just missed out my medal. That was bittersweet.
That is definitely bittersweet, and I know I've mentioned him already in the episode, but do you remember Evan Yeager? I think it was in the Diamond League a few years ago. That story just reminded me of this. He was going he was going to I forgot what he was trying to break 8. I'm pretty sure in the steeplechase and set a new American record. And he was in the lead, coming into the final straight, cruising on course of breaking 8 and setting a new American record. And he clips the last hurdle. Goes down, ends up finishing second, and doesn't set an American record. So that just reminded me of that so much.
That Evan Yeager's run is heartbreaking because he would have been the first white guy to break 8 minutes, which would have been a massive dealio. But he wasn't just going to break it; he was going to smash it. Like Jarius Birash won the race. I think he won the race in 8:58. So Evan would have been on to run about 8:57, 8:56, which would have been an outrageously quick time.
Yeah.
And I think for him, I really hope he does manage to break 8 before his career ends, because that race will haunt him otherwise.
Oh, it definitely is, and he's. I actually done an episode of the podcast talking about Evan Yeager, and he's been suffering from a foot injury now for quite a while, and I was really looking forward to seeing him race in the Olympics. Hopefully, he's still around injury free for Tokyo 2021 if that goes ahead. And yeah, no, look, that must be very haunting.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And a bit like yourself, would obviously you still have a long career ahead of you in the steeplechase, but at the moment is the Clonliffe club records quite haunting.
No, not really, because like the Clonliffe club record, I got what I would consider probably the perfect race in that race in Watford,
Yeah.
and I didn't get another chance at the record last season, and this season everything, the cross country season went really, really well, and I've been looking at that and saying, well, look, what should I do? Like, I think it's 11th in the Irish champs, 3rd in the British uni champs, and then 13th in the English cross country champs.
Yeah.
That course was brutal, by the way.
Was that the one where you? Is that the one where you nearly missed the water jump?
No, it wasn't a steeple. It's a cross country race.
I know it's a post up on your Instagram. I seen it there the other day where it's a cross country race, but you have to jump over like a river of water or a big puddle of water.
No, that's the Birmingham League. No, this is the one. Have you seen the post of me where I'm like in the mud and I'm kind of like?
Oh, and you're smiling.
Yeah,
and it's like having fun in the mud or something like that.
That's the one, yeah. There's that's not the muddiest bit of it. There's a section of it which the mud, and I'm not joking when I say that the mud was nearly knee deep.
Really?
Like we were running through it, and there's guys who are like 28-minute 10k runners or 29-minute 10k runners, and they're walking because they can't run through this mud. It's so thick.
It wasn't. It didn't come to a. It ended up being basically a walking race more than a running race.
That section certainly. Anyway, thankfully we only went through that bit twice. But that was nuts. But I've been hoping to get a couple of fast steeplechases in this summer and make a crack at the European standard, which was 8:45.
Yeah.
But obviously Europeans in Paris got cancelled, so.
Yeah. But no, look, that's what can you do, you know. More time to train if you're looking on the bright side. Come back hopefully next year stronger, ready to go.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I'm still not sure if I'm going to make it home for the nationals or not. I'm waiting to see if the quarantine gets lifted.
Yeah, well, over here in Ireland it was announced yesterday that the pubs are not reopening, so that was a bit of a low blow for a lot of the locals over here.
Killian, I hope you're not too worried about that one.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. But I know for a few people that would be like all the tracks being reclosed again for us.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But yeah, no, that definitely doesn't affect me in the slightest. But if anything, it actually is better for me because my house is on a main road, and it's just around the corner from the pub, and I sleep in the box room, so that is right beside the window, and the amount of people going up the road screaming at each other from just coming back from the pub at about 1 a.m. is it's pretty brutal. So it's, if anything, it's pretty nice for me. Getting
so
good night's sleep.
Killian's actually opting for the pubs to stay closed. So
Get on
record.
So hopefully no hardcore pub drinkers hear this and I get absolutely roasted in the comment section. But you know, I doubt any hardcore pub drinkers are listening to a running podcast.
I feel you don't know runners very well, but anyway.
Well, hopefully not. Fingers crossed. But obviously, we've spoken about your cross country career in pretty in depth, but we're still not moving away from it at the moment. And I just want to talk about maybe not just your steeplechase career, but your representing Ireland career as a whole. So just to start us off, when was your first ever Irish vest?
I only have one Irish vest.
Oh, really?
This surprises a lot of people. So I only have one Irish vest, and that's from last summer.
Yeah.
So I represented Ireland in the European Team Championships in Sandnes in 2019. That's my first Irish vest.
Yeah.
never made the school international because I was a little bit late bloomer in schools.
Yeah.
And then schools athletics couldn't decide whether they wanted to send a senior team or not. So 2008, they didn't send a senior team. 2009, they sent a senior team, but I was sick for the race, so I didn't get selected. The following year, they didn't send a senior team, but I came sixth. I would have been selected, but they didn't send a team. And then the year I left, they sent a team afterwards. So I got left in this 1 year for the cross country that day. Yeah. And then there was also that winter was the year of the really bad snow was 2010. It was my last year as a junior, and I actually missed the start of my race for the trials, and I was quite disappointed with that because I'd been running really well up until that point, and the guys who'd made the team, the last guy on the team was Kevin Dooney, before him was Paul Robinson, and before him was Darren McBurty. And I'd been pretty much neck and neck with Darren and Paul in a race in Mull about 3 weeks before. So I fancied my chances of making it, even if I didn't make it as a teammate, making it as a reserve.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was pretty, that was pretty hard.
So you've had a bit of hard luck when it comes to getting on the Irish team. So it must have felt, pretty good when you got onto it there last year.
Like last season. It's one of the best times of my life, actually, to be quite frank, because everything just kind of clicked. Training went well, racing went well, got my PB, won the Irish Nationals, which I've been looking for as well. And then on top of all that, managed to get a Irish vest. And actually, interestingly, I got offered it while I was in Norway. I actually got offered my current job.
Really?
So I've done it. Yeah, I had to get my job interview moved. So the way it happened was that I applied for this job. It's the last one. If I didn't get this one, I was coming back to Dublin. And then I won the Irish Champs. And then the email came out on the Monday morning saying you've been selected for the team. I was like, okay, this is unbelievable. About 2 hours later, I got another email through saying you've been selected for interview. I was like, oh, but my interview was when I was due to be out in Norway. So ended up being like, well, look, I've just been selected for the Irish team. I'm going to be in Norway for this date. Is there any chance we could move it like a day early? And they're like, yeah, no problem. So they moved it a day early for me then, and I did it when I was still in the UK. And then I got the call when I was in Norway before the race, saying I got the job. And I was like,
that is last season was the season of not of your life, probably of like your life and your future to come. Probably would you say that it would be hard to top that anyway last season.
Yeah, last season would have been hard to top, although I was certainly making Europeans might have helped.
But sure, look, there's always something, isn't there? There's always that.
There's always
thing.
something.
Yeah,
that's the Olympics.
That's it exactly. There is always something. When you've all these good things, and there's that one thing that just annoys you, and you just can't obviously maybe not appreciate everything to its fullest, just because that one thing is just niggling at you.
Yeah, well, I walked away from last season with no niggles, so I can be happy with that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously we mentioned your surprisingly only one Irish vest, which it came to a bit of a surprise to me, but hopefully definitely more to come in the future. But just talking about this one, obviously for everyone, 99% of people, nerves before races is a pretty intense thing. How did you feel before representing Ireland for the first time? Were you more nervous than you usually were? Were you more excited? How did you feel going into the race?
I'm pretty chill, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah, just got in the zone, just treated like any other race.
Yeah, exactly.
And I spoke to my coach about it beforehand as well. So I'm coached by George Gandy out of Loughborough.
Yeah.
And he'd be very much, it's just a race. And we've got the same formula that we use for pretty much all of the championship races. And we just applied the same formula. And it was like, well, look, if the guys go, you've got to make a judgment call, but you don't make any moves until you're in the last K. And if they go, then go with them and see how you do. And they ended up going, and I wasn't able to go on the. So I don't know if have you seen the race?
I haven't actually seen the whole race, but I've seen pictures and all of it.
And, no worries.
From Clonliffe.
Basically there's a pack of us all together until about 500 to go. The Norwegian fella, Carvog. Oh, I'm very bad with the Norwegian names. I never know how to pronounce those double O things, or the double dot things. Anyway, he made a break because it was a home race for him. And he actually toppled over and fell over the hurdle, first hurdle in the last lap. But then he was obviously feeling all right and he recovered. And I was, at that point, I was in 5th place, I think. And I was like, right, well, look, he's after falling over, so he might goose. So if you just kind of play your cards right here, you could pass him. You got 3 other fellas in front of you, 4 other fellas in front of you. Just see what happens and try and hold on. And 3 of them tore off away from me, and the Norwegian fella tore off away from me. One of the guys I got, and then one of them, I remember thinking, right, well, you've done 5th. 5th is okay. And coming over the last water jump, I saw the other fella, the Portuguese fella, on the last water jump, and he was in a bag. He was like, oh no, it wasn't Portugal, Turkish fella, sorry. The Turkish fella was in a bag, and he was just going backwards. I was like, right, you're mine. And it's one of those things, you're going over the last hurdle and like pull up neck and neck, and I think I got him by like half a second. That's probably down to having had the race plan and just being calm going into it. I think it would have been very easy to panic in that situation or just give up as well.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with them breaking away pretty, would you say, early on, could have, as you said, you could have panicked, you could have tried to stick with them and possibly burn out, but no, you stayed calm and collected, got over the barriers nicely, and you ended up catching a few people at the end. So did you finish 4th in that race?
Yeah, I finished 4th, and actually really happy with that because I think I was ranked 6th or 7th on PB. So I'd finished higher than what my seed was. So that's from Athletics Ireland point of view, that was a win. I was like, definitely. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's it. And would you say what was the distance like? You did mention, you did ask if I watched the race. Is it possible for me to actually still watch it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'll send you a link after if you want.
Yeah, perfect. You send me a link there. I'll definitely check it out. But just from me not watching it, what was the distance like between 3rd and 4th? Was it like, oh, maybe if I done this I could have caught him, or was it like, nah, I'm happy with 4th. I knew I left everything out on the track.
I think if it'd been early in the season, I might have been a little bit fitter or a little bit fresher and been able to hack the turn of pace. I'm not sure I'd have beaten them, but I'd like to have been running with them into the finish line. It wasn't because I was with, like, we were all bunched together at the bell, so they got maybe 2-3 seconds on me over the last 400.
So but when you think about it, then everyone else could really say that for themselves. If it was earlier in the season, you just don't know when it comes to these things.
And that's exactly it. I was in uncharted territory. I'm not sure. Based on training, I certainly would like to have been able to do that, because in terms of what our track times were, at least one of them would be somebody I'd be equivalent to. And I'm quicker over the hurdles than a lot of guys are.
But yeah, no, look, first Ireland race, first Ireland vest, 4th place, you can't, no complaining there really.
Oh yeah, no, ecstatic, delighted.
Yeah, definitely. And that is obviously the dream for a lot of people. Even just representing Ireland once is definitely a dream. But I just want to ask, I know Steeplechase, and I mentioned this earlier on, isn't the especially within Ireland anyway, isn't the most most ran event really. And I know at my age, I'm racing this year, as I mentioned, and I know there is a possibility that there could be very little in my race. Does that change within Ireland as you get older? Does that change? Do more people end up coming into the event as you get older? And especially when you get to the international stage for Ireland, is there more people in the Steeplechase event?
It swings and waves. And you'll often hear the term talent breeds talent. If you get 2 or 3 guys who are of the same level coming through the ranks in the younger ranks, generally speaking, they'll still work against each other and continue to build each other up. So for me, I had Emmett. Dave Flynn had Tomas Cotter as well. And you see that the 2 of them went through the ranks together, and me and Emmett came through the ranks 2 years later. So when it came to me being a senior, those guys were there, and they'd had Rory Chester to chase, who went through the ranks with Mark Kerwin. So it's those kind of little rivalries.
Definitely.
When you have those, they tend to hold the event together. But
Yeah.
if you look at the rankings, then you'll see it goes up and then it comes down and it goes up and it goes down. So I can't guarantee you that. What I can say is that the UK scene for steeplechase at the moment has been building over the last 5 years, and it's very strong now.
Yeah.
So if you're looking when you're old enough that it's worth your while travelling for a race, there'll be races over there to do, and they'll be good quality.
Yeah, so that's always good to hear, because I seen from especially schools, when I go to the school races and I see the steeplechase, I know three lads in my year anyway last year, where 2 of them were walking and one of them was doing cannonballs into the water jump every time.
Classic.
That it is classic. And everyone that was there at the race, it's the last event, so everyone was getting ready to go home, so everyone was bunched together over at the buses, so everyone was just cheering like cannonball, cannonball. Everyone was just egging them on to jump in. But then there was like, basically everybody, if you're watching this on YouTube, or even if you're listening to this episode, you'll know that Jayme and I were just talking about the amount of people that do steeplechase at my age. And if I remember correctly, I was talking about a lad in my school that done steeplechase and was doing cannonballs into the water. But the software ended up crashing. Jayme and I had to go. We had things to do, and basically this is day 2, attempt 2 at the podcast. This is, if you think about it, theoretically this is the longest podcast I've ever done, 2 days straight. So but no, we're back here now. It's literally only like 10 minutes left to do. Just coming on to the last question here, and if it wasn't such an important question, I would have been like, grand, we can just finish it up there. But it is one of the main segments of this episode, and it's Jayme's All-Ireland win, which you mentioned previously in this episode, his All-Ireland win in the 3K steeplechase, was it, Jayme?
Yeah, 3K steeplechase.
So basically, if you just want to take it away, like what was the lead up like to the All-Irelands? Obviously, you have to go through Leinsters or Dublins. Just what was the lead up competition and preparation was?
Yeah, so I suppose the start of the season, for me, every year I go out and I say I want a challenge for that gold medal in the nationals. I said that to George, who's my coach, and they're like, yeah. And I suppose 5 years I've been saying that, yeah, we'll go and just kind of be in the mix. Might not get it, but be in the mix at least. And then this year, training kind of everything just clicked together. Like I started off with the British Uni Champs, which I came third in, but I ran a PB for 1K at the end of it because it was a tactical race. So I think we went through the 2K in I think it was 6:30 or 6:31.
Yeah.
And then we closed the last K in 2:45. Like the guy who won it ran at 2:42.
Yeah,
which is it was early season, so I was like, you know what, I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then did the Loughborough International, and I ran a big PB in that. That was would have been my 3rd time going in the 9 minutes. I ran an 8:53.
Oh, very good.
I was like, okay, yeah, we're starting to go somewhere here.
Yeah.
So then I managed to get myself into a race in Poland, but that didn't really go according to plan because the weather when we were out there, it was like 30, I think it was 32 or 33 degrees at race time.
And especially being from Ireland, that was hard to cope with.
Yeah, although interestingly, I did meet what's it called? I wouldn't say quite a hero, but somebody who I'd have a lot of respect for. I don't know if you know Christian Zaleski.
Where is he from? Is he from Poland?
Yeah, he's the Polish steeplechaser. He's had a couple of medals at European Championships.
Yeah, no, I can't put a face on him, but I definitely heard the name around.
Yeah, anyway, lovely bloke. I have an awful lot of time for him now. I'd never met him before. Yeah. And we were just chatting after the race. I was like, Jesus, I'm in Ragor right here. And he was like, yeah, no, that was hard. I was like, cool. I saw Adam Kashot as well, and Marcin Lewandowski, but I didn't get to say hello to them. They were doing a work. Yeah, I'd really like to say hello.
He's a top athlete.
Yeah, Lewandowski's one of my favourite athletes.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and he was doing did the workout look pretty intense?
They raced and then did a workout after.
Well, that is pretty intense, to be fair.
Yeah, like they ran an 800 and then they went off and they were doing reps on the track afterwards. So I don't know what they were doing. Me and there's a Welsh lad there, Johnny Hopkins, and the two of us were in a bag. We were just barely shuffling along because we were so heat
Yeah, that's what I
stroked.
was thinking. You were there after your race, absolutely dying. They finished the race, and obviously they adapted to the weather as well. But they
Yeah, it was
finished the race, and they go off to a session like it's no bother.
I know. Anyway, so I'd gotten a text just before that from a guy I know from Birmingham, Mark Pierce. He was like, "Well, look, Jay, this race in Watford is going on, and there's a few good steeplechasers running on." I was like, I've got this race in Poland. I'm going to do this flat. I'm going to do the flat. And after the race in Poland, I was like, okay, so that didn't go well.
Yeah.
I ran like 9:08, which is all right for
Yeah.
the conditions, but it wasn't amazing. I was like, right, that's not great. So went in, then said, right, we're doing Watford. Entered Watford, switched from the 3K to the 3K, or from the 3K flat to the 3K steeplechase, and that's where I ran nearly a club record, but not quite.
Oh.
And at that point, I was like, okay, this is really good. I didn't know what time I was on for. I hadn't been watching the clock.
Yeah.
And I remember coming down to finishing straight and seeing the clock, and it was clicking 39, 40, 41. I was like, oh my god, I've run a massive PB here. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I was nervous when I was looking at the results. I was like, what on earth, have I got the club record? I obviously just missed it, but anyway, bittersweet. It was
That's it again. It's like the massive PB by what, nearly 10 seconds, and
in and around.
And then there's always that one thing. I know we've mentioned that already, but there is always just that one thing that always makes the great moments just not as great as they could be.
Yeah. Well, look, it is what it is. It ended up being all right. I was really happy with the race, and I came out of that. Then I was like, right, so that means I'm about half a second behind Brian Fay in the rankings now.
Yeah.
And it was just me and Brian Fay at that point who were looking at the national title. So I was like, right, well, let's see what happens. So I think I did the National League the week before it, ran 9:08 there, and then went into the Nationals. And me and Gandhi had spoken about it, and he said, well, look, we'd been doing specific work on closing fast in races.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had a kick, and I knew I could run fast over the hurdles.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, Brian, that's probably, just get it on the record, Brian is a cracking athlete.
Yeah.
And aerobically, really strong. I wouldn't fancy myself against him on a 3K flat.
Yeah.
Needs a little bit of work over the hurdles, and I knew that the weak point that he had was that he wasn't going to be able to hurdle at speed. So for me, the slower the race went, the better.
Yeah, and believe it or not, for steeplechase, you actually need to be good over the hurdles, believe it or not.
Yeah, you need to be competitive in championship racing. You need to be able to close hard, and like we were doing specific work at what would be equivalent to 1500 steeplechase training.
Yeah.
So I'd be doing reps at like 8-minute pace over hurdles, but we wouldn't do an aerobic session at that. It'd be like aerobic first, and then try to run the faster stuff at the end of the session.
Yeah, just get the legs going.
Well. Yeah, get the legs going. But it meant that in training, I'd done a couple of reps where I'd run at like 61 seconds over hurdles.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going, well, I can do that in training. I'm going to be able to run. Yeah. So the other thing we played around with was that I learned how to hurdle the water jump like a Kenyan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said it to Gandhi in the summertime. I was like, look, I'm closing too hard, and the last water jump, I'm finding I'm coming into it too fast, and it feels like I should be hurdling it, and I'm messing it up every time.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, look, when I've been in the race in the British Uni Champs, the guy who'd won the race had hurdled as well. I was like, I want to learn that. So he said, okay. And fair play to him. He took it real seriously, and we did 2 or 3 specific sessions down the track where we just practiced water jump and nothing else, and it really made a difference.
Yeah.
And then we did it in a couple of workouts, tried it in workouts, and the Irish Nationals was the first time that I'd actually put it into place. I was just running around, coming to the last water jump, it felt right, and I did it. And the commentary is actually funny because I think it's Ronan Duggan, and he's hurdled it like a Kenyan.
That's a ballsy move, you know. Doing something different that maybe you're not as comfortable doing in an Irish Championship, closing in like that, and it obviously it paid off in the end.
Yeah, well, we've been practicing it, and what I was finding was that if I tried to do it in sessions, it wouldn't always work.
Yeah.
So we went with the thing that if it felt right, I did it.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I only did 2 or 3 sessions where it felt right, and I did do it.
Yeah.
But it was actually being able to go into the race and knowing that if it feels right, I can, and if it doesn't feel right, I don't.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was something, because I pretty much sat in for the whole race until about 500 to go. Brian, I was making ground on Brian through the water jump each lap. So went over the water jump. I managed to overtake Brian with about 500 to go then, and I sat in the front then and just went through the gears. And yeah, I think he raced already that week,
All right.
which I'm not sure why he did going into national championships.
No, definitely not.
But it meant that I was actually able to pull away from him quite easily.
And yeah, you're not complaining when you put it
I'm
that
not
way.
complaining, no.
Yeah.
Like Irish Championship, that meant everything to me.
Yeah.
And also winning it meant that I got selected for the European Team Champs. So
Yeah, there you go.
that was a massive deal.
And the European Team Champs, were they postponed, or what's the story with them?
Well, that was last year, so that was in Norway last year, and they went ahead. This year, there's no European Team Champs for the Olympic year.
Yeah.
So I'd been targeting the actual European Champs, but that's been cancelled.
Yeah. So. And so yeah, before we talk about the European Champs a little bit more, just how did it feel crossing the line, knowing that even like obviously you've represented Ireland, and then again you're aiming for the European Championships, but even winning, being champion within your own country, how did that feel?
Oh, there's nothing really like it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably like one of the happiest days of my life. Was winning that championship and doing it in Clonliffe as well. My folks were there, all the coaches were there, all my friends were there. Like, it's quite special to win something like that in Santry.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'll leave your Instagram down in the description. Hopefully it makes any slight difference to your follower count. But I've seen that there's a picture there where you hugging your dad, and after the race, and it just looked like a great moment, because it must have been. What were your emotions like? It must have been like weird, because I know because the races prior to the Irish Championships, it wasn't a huge surprise that you actually won it. But what were your emotions like? Because obviously you were happy, but was there anything else going through your head?
At that point, mostly happiness and relief. Like, I know I'd had a good season, but I wasn't 100% sure I'd beat Brian.
Yeah.
It really came down to how he ran the race.
Exactly.
But after that, I was just like, I was relieved. I was on top of the world, really. And like, that photo. That's one of the rare times I see my dad expressing emotion. He was nearly happier than I was after it.
That's great to see. That's probably another great thing. Like, obviously winning the race is great, but knowing like your dad, and be saying me, my dad wouldn't be one for expressing emotion, and just something like that is just like, wow, this is actually a big deal.
Yeah.
That must have been special. And then obviously you said you went on to the European Champs. How did they go for you?
Yeah, no, the Team Champs went well. I think we discussed it earlier that I'd finished finished above my seed in that, so I was chuffed.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that it was coming into the final straight, and you ended up finishing fourth.
Yeah, I was delighted.
There you go, fourth. Like, you're going from win then to fourth. No complaining there. That's great. Coming off that a little bit, obviously that was one of the pretty much the main thing I wanted to talk about, since it crashed yesterday. I didn't want to let that slide because it would just bug me all the time. But just talking about maybe a little smaller things at the moment. What's training looking like for you over there in lockdown, or are restrictions being lifted? What was it like when the restrictions were really heavy? How are things working out for you training wise?
It's been a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. So I was supposed to be going to altitude training in April.
Yeah.
Everything booked for, everything paid for, and I think 2 weeks before that happened, the US locked down any European travelling. So that was the trip cancelled then. I think a week later after that, I got a phone call from my mum saying, look, things are looking bad in the UK. They're not looking great here. We'd rather you were home. So I ended up going home, and I was in Ireland for 3 months.
Yep.
But unlike you, I don't live with sticks, and not within 5k of a park or not within 5k of a track. So I was just running on the roads for pretty much that entire time. Initially training went well, but then when you're distracted and you've nothing else to think about, you push too hard, and I did too much, and I had to take time out because I overtrained myself. It's the classic.
Yeah, definitely. It just you'd be. I'm not too sure this. I'm just asking. Would you be like would your training routine always be with a team, or would you be training individually?
I do a lot of mileage on my own at the moment because of work. I prefer training with people. I'll always run with somebody on Sunday, and I'll usually run a workout with somebody. And if my housemates are going out in the evening time and it suits, I'll try and make it back in time so I can join them.
Yeah, definitely.
But a lot of my mileage is done solo as well. I don't mind doing the solo mileage, but when you're out for 2 hours on a Sunday and you just run on the roads, you're just like, nah, not really enjoying this now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what I felt, especially with sessions, because I've mentioned it in numerous podcasts that it's like you're with your team coming into the final straight at the last rep. Obviously, you're not racing, but someone taking over you or you're trying to catch one of your teammates, it does push you that little bit more to put that extra bit in. And for me, because I've always been training with a team the entire time that I've done running. It kind of got a bit repetitive doing everything on my own. And when you're with your team, there's things to talk about, you have the crack and all, but it just isn't the same when you're on your own.
Yeah, no, I definitely miss the social outlet.
Yeah, definitely.
I love spending time with the guys, with the training group, and I really missed on that during the lockdown.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you were meant to be going to altitude training, and with the Olympics, hopefully they're going ahead next year, that could be a crucial factor on how people perform, because especially people like British athletes, Irish athletes like yourself that would be going abroad to train in altitude. And then obviously you have the Kenyans and a lot of the Americans already training at altitude, so they do definitely have that advantage when it comes to the time for the Olympics if you can't get away training for altitude. So it'll definitely be a weird one to see how things pan out in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think people put more stock in altitude training than really they need to.
Yeah.
Because like you get a benefit, but the benefit only lasts you about 6 weeks after you've been up there.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's actually getting away and doing the training that you find that by the time the altitude benefits come down, the training has taken its place. You're still fitter coming out. The guys who live permanently at altitude, they're at a massive advantage because every time they come down to sea level, then they run faster than they do at altitude.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a nice way to be.
Yeah.
For me, we've pulled together a very late altitude training camp, so I'm heading to Fontramaux in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, nice. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I only booked the flight on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a bit impromptu. One of my housemates, and I don't know, do you know Johnny Davis?
No.
No, he's quite a good 5k runner in the UK. Anyway, Johnny lives around the corner from us, and he wanted to go, and Mike was like, yeah, I want to go do that as well, and it just kind of snowballed from there, that there's now, I think there's 12 or 15 of us going out.
Yeah.
And I think Luke Gunn's going to come out. He's the coach in University of Birmingham, and his wife Hannah England's going to come out as well.
Yeah.
So it's
actually really fun.
So I'm kind of just at the stage now where I can do sessions again. So
yeah. So that'll be exciting, especially at altitude. That'll be a good way to kick things off. Obviously, you don't want to go straight back into hard training. Obviously, you've been doing your long recovery and mileage stuff, so it'll be good to get back into it at altitude. It'll hopefully make the process a little bit quicker than if you were to do it over in England or in Ireland.
Well, it might. To be honest, I'm just looking forward to being out there with a training group and running somewhere that's pretty. Spawn's supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. That's it, and hopefully more big things to see from you, Jay, in the future. And on that note, what are the goals for you looking like for the future?
Number one is get back racing whenever we can.
Yeah.
Long term, everyone said the Olympics. I don't think I'm going to be ready for the Olympics for next year. I think that would be. I knew I wasn't going to be ready for this year. I had planned to go Europeans this year and maybe try for Worlds next year. don't know where I'm really going to be at now, to be honest, because the way the ranking system works, if you want to get qualified without a standard, you need to run high quality races, but races are fewer and far between now. Steeplechase opportunities are even less, so it's going to be really difficult for me to qualify for a major championship apart from Europeans at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. So would your goals at the moment just get to altitude, get some quality training in, race when you can, and see what happens from there?
Yeah, like Europeans is on in Dublin. In European Cross is on in Dublin in December.
Oh
so
yeah, hopefully that should be
like
going ahead.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's in the back of my mind. I'm sure everybody's thinking about that, but
Yeah.
I'd really like to run, especially if it's muddy. If it's muddy, we jokes.
Oh, definitely. And I'll be going up to watch that, and you never know, you'll be taking on Jakob Ingebrigtsen, will you?
I don't think there's much competition there.
You never know. You never know. We'll put in a good word for you, and hopefully we get a few snaps with Jakob at the end of the race.
Yeah, Jakob's got a faster steeplechase PB than I do.
Really?
Yeah.
He's
He run at a handful.
Yeah,
he won the world champs. Ran the world champs in the steeplechase in 2017, London.
Really? And what's his? I never actually knew that. What's his PB looking like?
Around 8:30, I think. Maybe 8:27. I'm not sure.
That's crazy.
He only did it for one
actually.
season.
Yeah, I never knew that. So, but sure, look, you never know. On the day, you could have the race of your life and be up challenging.
He could fall over, like.
Yeah, well, yeah, fall over.
He could actually fall over. I'm not going to push him over.
Yeah, okay. No, but no, you never know. So go the European Cross Champs, training at altitude. Just get back racing as soon as possible and see where things lead you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So thanks Jayme for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry for taking up 2 days straight of your time, but sure, look, that's how the cookie crumbles.
No worries.
And it was a great episode. It was really enjoyable. I was telling Mick last night at the races that you were on, and he said he got a few honourable mentions, so he's gonna give it a listen when it goes live.
Yeah, well, speaking of honourable mentions, Mick certainly needs one.
Oh,
I think an honourable mention for Joe Cooper for coaching for 2 years and being persistent at making sure I came down to the club. He chased for 4 years to get me down.
And look where you are now.
I know. And a shout out to Peter McDermott as well for being a coach for all my undergrad uni years, so 4 years again. And it really, their influence, without them, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah, so definitely a few people to thank for where you are today. Look where that's led you onto the Little Running Irishman podcast. So lucky you. No, but I hope everyone watching and listening to this episode of the podcast enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Hope you did, Jayme.
Yeah, I had a great time there.
And I'll leave your socials down in the description. Hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.